Greetings, greetings, family. Welcome, welcome. You know what day it is. It is Wednesday evening. Welcome, welcome. As you can see, we have Dr. Aboo in the house, and our brother Rasso Shing is just lining up himself backstage as well. We'll be bringing him on shortly as soon as he's got his camera sorted out for us. Dr. Aboo, rise up yourself every time. How are
Rise up,
you?
family. Well, I give thanks for life. I give thanks for life, you know. Can't complain because there's others out there in worse situation than I. So I just give thanks.
I hear that one for real, Dr. Aboo. And, that's how I was brought up as well. Always to be thankful for what we've got because there's so many others out there with so much less. So if we've got eyes to see, we have to be thankful. If we've got ears to hear, we have to be thankful because there's those who can't hear. If we have more for talk, we have to be thankful because there are those who would love to talk but are unable to do so. If we can walk, we have to be thankful. Okay, looks as though Rasso Shing is lined up backstage. Let's bring him forward to the show. Rise up, brother Ras Ho Shing. Greetings.
Continue rising, my sister, Dr. Aboo. Blessings to you all. And as you know, we always say, in the presence of the Most High, blessings to our family right across Mother Earth. Blessing, family.
Rise up yourself, brother Rasso Shing. Turn down your volume just a little bit, please, because it's peaking. And we don't want it peaking throughout the entire night. So just turn it down, the volume, just a little bit. So we want to welcome everybody that has already logged on. And for those of you who are on, hey, big us up in the chat room. I've been having internet challenges today. Normally, I'd send out the link to everybody before the show, but my WhatsApp has been playing up. So I haven't been able to do that. So I hope our regulars, nevertheless, managed to find their way onto the site tonight. So, we just have to work with the technology as best that we can. Okay, we are expecting our brother Prophet Kwaku to be joining us tonight as well. And then we will be a full house and we'll be ready to rock and roll. All righty, so as you can see, we have Dr. Aboo in the house, who's one of our resident panel members. But we also have our brother Ras Ho Shing from Jamaica joining us as a guest today. So, brother Ras Ho Shing, we want to welcome you to the Sister Shanice show and to the panel today. Certainly looking forward to an interesting topic for discussion and from a great contribution from yourself. So excited about that. And before we actually launch into everything that we normally do for the evening, let me give each of you an opportunity just to welcome and to greet the family. And looks as though we are joined by Prophet back screen as well. Hey, as Prophet come in, Rasso Shing has dropped out. I don't know what happened there, but hopefully he'll be right back with us. Welcome, Prophet Meduty.
Okay.
Hotep. Oh, welcome. We have Rasso Shing with us. Yes, he's just dropped out, but hopefully he'll be right back. So while we're waiting for Rasso Shing to return, let's just quickly go to the chat and see who we have with us this evening. So family members, I can see we've got 49 in the house already. Fantastic. Please do let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. What part of the world are you tuned in from? Okay, so we've got weapons of mass distraction saying keep Whitey far away from it. From what? So what are you talking about? Fill us in, let us know. We've got Ma'at Feathers in the house saying greetings to all. Rise up, Ma'at Feathers. We've also got Sista Yoga in the house saying greetings to the panel and looking forward. Oh, she's saying no, looking stunning, Sister Shanice. You and Dr. Aboo matching in your green headdress, and that was the ancestors. Hey, I was talking to me and Dr. Aboo got a different set of ancestors talk to Prophet Meduty today. They say, come regal in your white. Hey, it's beautiful.
Always.
Rising up, Sister Werner in the house. Good to see you in your house, Sister V. That's Sister Werner of Phenomenal Women's. Rise up yourself. We got JJ in the house sending us greetings from the UK. And we've got Sister Afrijamo in the house as well. Rise up, Sister Afrijamo from Tuned In. She says, hang on, what did she say? Greetings, Sister Shanice, panel, all African brothers and sisters worldwide, watching from Ghana, Jamaica, Agwan, Broda. That was for Rasso Singh, who has just dropped out. So we'll be rising up some of the others as they come in. So yeah, let us know where you're locked in from. So my brother, Prophet Meduty, how are you today? How have you been?
You know, it's been a somber week. You know, passing of a close family friend. You know, and we're just dealing with that. And there's so many things that is happening, Sister Shanice, in our community globally. You know, the white terrorism is ramping up. You know, they're trying to stifle people's civil liberties, especially here in Britain. And so for all the Africans globally who's looking to run to come to Britain, you know, they're worse than the Soviet Union now. They're trying to stop people from doing legitimate demonstrations. So where they vilify public countries where the government is very harsh and stringent on people demonstrating against them, they themselves now is trying to impose that in a kind of nice way. You know they do it. They're very ginalish, very sneaky in the way that they do things. And so right now them trying to stifle the civil liberties, not only of people who's not of their hue, but even their own people from demonstrating against the injustices in the government.
Wow.
So that's what's happening here in Britain, and having a lot of attacks on our freedom fighters, people who are seeking to get some form of justice. But as we know, the white man only understands one language. He only understands one language. Until you can do to him what he does to you, then he will not talk to you. So he will talk to superpowers like Russia, and he will talk to China, because China can do to them what them do to China, and so forth with North Korea and places like that. They have the ability to hit them at home. And so they don't want a war like that. They want a war where you're not able to attack them on their mainland. And that's what it is. They are wicked, greedy, pernicious people, them, who not even their own people can trust them. They treat their own people with disrespect. And so whenever you see them treating us like that, then you don't have to wonder why. Because they can do that to their own, and they will do it to us. You know, interestingly enough, I always say when I teach the children and when I speak to people about the behavior patterns, especially the British, and why they were so able and so freely and comfortable with the atrocities that they bestowed upon us in that 400-year period. And the reason why they could do that so easily without compassion or any kind of empathy was because they were doing it to their own first. And they have a place called London Dungeons and the Tower of London. And when you go them places, that's where they used to kill even their own kings and queens and their dukes. They would capture them, they would torture them and do all kind of nefarious things. So doing it to people that didn't look like them was nothing, because they'd do it to themselves already. Remember, say Henry D chop off enough of them and all them something there, you know, and do all kind of things, you know. So, you know, this is their nature. They're quite warmongers, and they don't change unless you change them.
Mm.
You know,
Mhm.
we live in a dictatorship in Britain. It's a dictatorship. Not because you go out and you vote people in. It doesn't give them the right to do what they want.
Mhm.
And what the successful governments, be they Labour, Liberal, Conservative, have done over the years is that once the people vote them in, they feel that give them carte blanche to go and do what they want. And so, for example, something very simple, they gave, you know, they had people out there clapping them hands for them NHS with this whole heap of COVID thing. And they were, you know, stay home, wash your hands, keep the NHS safe, you know, keep regurgitating that mantra because it's a technique. You see, keep regurgitating, everybody does it. And when it came time for the government to show appreciation for the sacrifices that these frontline nurses and with nurses in particular was given, they gave them a 1% pay rise. That's tantamount to £3.50 a week. Yeah.
Wow.
And prior to that, prior to this scamdemic thing that's gone on, they gave themselves, I think it was a 20% pay rise.
Mhm.
Now remember, I believe I am correct, and the panel can correct me, that the government of Britain is employed by the people.
That's
I believe
right.
that's the way it's supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
So isn't it the people to designate how much pay rise them get? Not them designate how much pay rise the people get. You see what I'm saying? And so this is what's been going on for centuries, and it's just another classism. The aristocracy controls the top jobs and the governmental jobs and well, there's no working class people really, because everybody are middle class now. See? And so a lot of these people them that were working class was now become middle class, forgets what it was like when they was working class. And so the people them who's not as fortunate as themselves, those people suffer at the hands of the people them that them vote in. You understand me I say?
Yes, we overs.
So anyway, just that little something, you know.
We hear
Greetings in
that.
the name of the creating force of the universe, omnipotent being that which is greater than ourselves. For as many names, all of the Mare, Mukulu, Wami Blafashe, Mungo, Ja Onyeme, Amanra, Ashe, Ashe, Moduba Fun, Awon, Baba, Babawa. All hail
Ashe.
to our ancestors.
Ashe.
Heal up
All
the
right.
man called Rush to sing, and heal up my elder Dr Aboo and Queen Shanice. I just went on a bit of a ramble there. I do apologize to my family. And Rush will sing in the era. Big up yourself every time.
No apologies needed, Prophet. You know, we heard
Without
that you
apology.
needed to get that off your chest. I mean, you suddenly realizing that you're waking up in a country that's supposed to be for the free people, but, you know, it feels more like a dictatorship. And from what you're saying, it sounds as though they're tightening and pulling in the reins more and more on a daily basis. And, you know, I've been hearing a lot of talk about what's going on in the UKK right now. They're blocking off roads, they're charging, you know, there's a lot of things that's happening on top of the lockdown. Businesses have been run into the ground, being forced to remain shut, and only the large supermarkets are allowed to open and reap all of the profits and the benefits during this time. You know, we are hearing about the draconian powers that they're trying to bring in, stopping people from protesting. I mean, like you said, these are the things that UK press kind of vilified, you know, other countries over, not allowing the freedom of speech, not allowing people to protest, not allowing people to leave their homes and to go freely about their business. And now here we have the UK doing it. So we hear you on that. Let's go around the room. Dr. Aboo, some opening remarks from yourself, my brother?
Yeah, man. Give thanks to the Prophet and Rasa Singh. You know, when the Western right-wing press talk about Venezuela and China and all of them things there, they're not talking about the atrocity that happening to us. You ever hear the right-wing press write about the police brutality and all of these things?
Nope.
You know, so we have to realize that Western propaganda is a virus on the African people right across the globe. You understand? Now, it's a pity. It's a pity that some of us can't sieve it out for ourselves more than just run upon it, because a lot of us are running on the Western propaganda, and we end up getting crossfire. You know, when I said friendly fire, you know them time. Friend, you see, friend in them time, yeah, is shelf life, but brethren and sistering is for a lifetime. And right now, we have to let go these little shelf life in people, you understand? Because if me and your friend from boyhood, our brethren from boyhood, there's nothing, you understand, can make we just one day, one little things that man, we just broke up like that. That means that we wasn't brethren and sistering from long time. And this we have to start to ask ourselves the question. You understand? You know, are we honest with ourselves? Are we honest with the people that we are around? Because it's a reality that we are in right now. Voodoo.
Voodoo, voodoo, rise up, Dr. Aboo. Yes, indeed. You know, sometimes we're too fickle, but we need to be in there for the long haul and realize, you know, that as we go through in life, you know, there's many a journey and many a dark alleys and many a bright alleys that we have to go through. But, you know, the extent of that friendship, yes, will determine, you know, whether we all reach the desired destination together or not. And let's welcome our brother Rasso Shing from Jam Down, Jamaica. How you doing, Rasso Shing? And what going on in Jamaica?
Well, my sister Shanice, continue rising. Blessings to the Prophet and blessing to Dr. Aboo. And I can only think of His Imperial Majesty at this time when His Majesty said, the problems that confronts us today has no counterpart in human history. They are totally unprecedented. And we are certainly seeing what we're confronted with. Now, as far as we have always concerned, evil is always evil and evil can never change. And those of us who has been able to connect the dots according to Paul, Brother Paul that I've missed so much, you know, we must realize that when we were conquered, when our empires conquered, those who were put in rulership has nothing to do with the true rulers of Africa. And that has been the problem from that time until now. So whatever we're seeing, and we're expecting that those who enslave us was going to give us a religion, was going to give us an education that was going to liberate us both mentally, spiritually. And, you know, we know that is one of the biggest illusion that we that were enslaved has taken on. And the fact of the matter is, as what His Majesty said, until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior, until these are discredited and abandoned, and when His Majesty made that speech, he can only be referring to the European white supremacists, the Chinese, and also the Arab who calls themselves Arabs, and we know them. So that is where we are, and we seem to be under this illusion that the white man was going to give us back what he took from us, and that white man was going to give us justice. It's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. And those of us who knows that, it is time for us to separate. We've always said the constitution that holds Africa in bondage to European must be discredited and abandoned. And as for the leaders, we know who is still puppets. We know them. And as what the laws of Mahat says, what has been done by the evils of men, the laws of Mahat will correct, as you know, because there has to be a balance. And I know that for a fact, my brothers and sisters. And I know by 2030, our motherland must be free, because if it's not, then we don't have no future. We can't leave it to the next generation. It is we now, the grandfathers, the mothers, we have to do this thing, because the next generation hasn't got the knowledge or the experience in order to fulfill what needs to be done. And that's where I am, Sister Shanice and my brother. So we stop the discussion. You know, we stop hearing about the problem, because the problems, you won't change them until when we take care of our business. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing in Trenchtown. All the things that's happening in Jamaica, the same thing is happening here. Our government, right, is doing the same thing, spinning this web of conceit and conspiracy and forcing the people to take vaccine when we don't need it. And we know this for a fact, that these government represent the government of the Antichrist without apology. Any leader of Africa is telling its people to take vaccine, represent the government of the Antichrist, which is empowered by the dragon. And as you know, who is the dragon? Who are the dragon? The dragon can't change, and the beast can't change either. And we know who is the beast, and we know who is the dragon. And so long as the beast and the dragon is here, there can be no future for the human race. There can be no world peace. So we have to get rid of the beast and the dragon. And that's what it is.
Rise up, Brother Rasso Shin. Thank you so much for those opening remarks there, and for giving us an indication of Wagwan in Jamaica right now as well. Let me quickly turn to the chat and see who we've got in the house, what comments that we might be seeing already. So King Nippy Pingo, Nimic Nim Congo, sorry, King Nim Congo says, yes, brother, exactly. And then we've got Master Untouchable saying, Kava Evu. Kaka Evu, Kavu Evu. I'm not sure what that means, but please translate. We've got V Warren in the house saying, evening, everyone. The host and the panel, Rasso Shing, face to the voice. Yes, let's trust it's a good one. Let's certainly trust it's going to be a good educational one tonight. We've got Africa Queen in the house saying, yes, brother Paulus, tell them the truth. We've got the Diaspora channel in the house saying bonjour. Mr. Untouchable comment, allez-vous. Okay, they're speaking French to each other there. Master Untouchable, bonjour, Madame Kai. Okay, so no one, all right. And the Diaspora channel bigging us up. We've got Blue Zodiac in the house saying, it is good to see the voodoo man in glasses and not in his traditional Stevie Wonder. Dang, this is somebody who want to see your eyes every strong. And we got Sister Afrijamo, I love saying that name, saying greetings to Rasso Shing. And we've got Ubuntu in the house. Greetings to the esteemed panel, my warrior queen, Shanice. I'm loving your fashion style. You are looking absolutely radiant. Voodoo, thank you so much. Oh, it's difficult keeping it up, I must say. Hey, what may I try, you know? And Afrijamo rising up, Dr. Aboo, saying, good to see you black again, my brother. Yes, he was here last strong. You never see him last. You was here last strong. It was it? No, yeah, man, good to have you black in the house, Dr. Aboo, one of our resident panel members. And to those of you sending messages in the chat, thank you so much. We're rising you all up. Yes, we've got an interesting and an exciting discussion that we're going to be having this evening. And before we go into that, I just want to thank everyone who's subscribed to this channel. If you're watching for the first time, if you're watching and you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe to the channel so you get notifications when we come live. If you hit the bell, then when we come live, you'll get a notification that's telling you that we're live, so you can log on, okay? So Patreons as well, thank you so much appreciate love. I'm going to have to try and do a fundraising drive so I can keep up with these outfits. Drop me on it. And, I want to thank everyone that continues to support the channel by sharing, the links. And, yeah, we want to rise you all up. And if you're not... a regular viewer of this channel, there's well over 100 videos there for you to watch, and a huge amount of research and a huge amount of work goes into these productions and goes into the information that we bring forth on these panels that we discuss with you. And so please do share the narrative. And, even today on my radio show, we had a special guest, brother Franklin Jones, author of the book, The Black Matrix. And basically what he was sharing with us just reminded me of the importance of these discussions and these debates that we have. He was telling us that there is a war on our mind, and that war is relentless, consistent and persistent. The war is to shape our thinking. The war on our mind is to control our thinking, to have us see ourselves in a certain way and to have others to see us in a particular way as well. And the reason why that war on our mind is so important is because, what's been injected into our mind is this false narrative which suggests that we are inferior and Europeans are superior. And it's in their interest to keep, drumming home this message, which is what they do through all of their media outlets, their films, their magazines, their newspapers, through the education system. We are constantly fed a diet and a narrative that is telling us that we are inferior and they are superior, to the point where I even hear some of our own people saying it, to the point where many of our people, don't even want to identify with being an African because, they have successfully managed to make us see ourselves in such an inferior sort of way. So these discussions and debates, is about us using the platform to rise up ourselves, to elevate ourselves, to talk about the issues that are impacting on us, for us to share information, okay? Because only we can do for we. And, we can't expect any other race. We can't expect the Chinese or the Europeans or the Asians or any other race to elevate us. We have got to do the elevating. We are the ones who've got to elevate ourselves. Before I go into the discussion, I just want to get some comments on what I've just said from each of my panel members. Dr. Aboo, what do you say about that, my brother?
Well, a serious thing, and I've been saying this. The reason why the Rastaman come to his people is because of colonialism. You understand? And the Rastaman and woman them was an anti-colonial virus, and the way the people them was under this virus, even the people them he fight the very thing that come to help them. And today we see it spread out the whole place, because wherever colonialism go, we see the same behavior. We see the same behavior in Africa, same behavior in the UK, same behavior anywhere African people there. And until we can acknowledge and realize that we are swimming in a cesspool here, you understand? And as Prophet always say, we in a concentration camp. And because some of us is a trustee, we are pretending like we're not in a concentration camp. But this is a concentration camp, blood. You understand? And I'm still digging my tunnel, blood. I'm still digging it. That's how I see it. Voodoo.
Voodoo, Dr. Aboo, rise up yourself. And we know, block up the tunnel behind you, so enough can follow through afterwards as well. Rise up. Hey. Prophet Meduty, any comments, remarks from you regarding my opening comments there?
You know, Sister Shanice, we probably need a longer show to discuss the things that you said, because just like what Dr. Aboo said, a lot of our people work to suppress us. You know, they have a guy here. He's called Kwesi Kwarteng. Have you ever heard of him?
Where is he? Can't say.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
secretary. He's the Secretary of State for Business and business and energy, right? And industrial strategy of Britain. He's an African, a very brainy guy, very, you know, knowledgeable individual. And he's the first Secretary of State of this country. And how I discovered him is I was watching the news this morning and saw him speaking on the news. So I did a bit of research on him. The guy who's been to Eton and Cambridge and Oxford and Harvard University and them thing there. So he's a very well knowledgeable individual. And his job is to advise the British government on business deals they should do, kind of things that they should enter into to make sure that Britain make the right choices economically on a world stage. And we have these individuals, not just here in Britain, but all over the European world. And they, for me, are our biggest problem. Because his father was an economist and his mother was a barrister. And they left Ghana and came to Britain. And this is what happens with a lot of our people, that the best of our people are the ones that's propping up the very same system that we ourselves are seeking reparations from. And just like what Dr. Aboo said, just because them have a little overseer job on the concentration, because these are new concentration camps that we are on. We as African people don't have no freedom to be who we are really and truly. Long as we work within the confines of their definition, then everything is all right. So, yes, my queen, there's a lot that we have to do on working on ourselves as African people globally. And we must also open up our minds to be Africated, because nobody don't know everything. Every day I get up, I learn something new. And every day I get up, because I was born here, I try to kill a little of that European in me every day. So we have a lot of work to do. And I just give way so brother Russell Singh can say something. Okay.
Well, my brother and sister, everything that is said, we're in full agreement. You know, we're at the dawn of the 21st century. But when I look, we're the only nation that is still trying to find who we are. We're the only nation that is still marching for our rights. We are the only nation that is doing these things. And, you know, it comes to the reality that, you know, we must accept the fact that when our people were enslaved and the amount of Bacamasa picnic was created on the plantation, you cannot define an African simply by the color of his physical appearances, because you'll find that many of them looks like you, but they haven't got your nature. They have Bacamasa nature. These are Bacamasa pickaninnies. And it's something that we have to accept. And this is why I have to give where the Rastafarian is concerned. The whole philosophy and teaching of the great elders, Shaggy Berry, Martimo Planner, right? Bunga Tani, and the list goes on and on. Bunga Sheffon, Fillmore Alvaranga, Sam Clayton, and it goes on and on. It's all about ourselves. We can't blame no one. And I do not want to blame no one else. I don't want to blame the white man anymore, the Chinese man, the dragon, because we are the one that gave them their knowledge, right? We gave them the knowledge, and that's what it is. So we can only blame ourselves. And as an Ethiopian, because I do identify in the fullness of Ethiopia, the philosophy and teaching of His Imperial Majesty, and the one faith that we follow, the same as him, right? We do not impose ourselves on other spirituality, but our definition that came out of Holy Mount Zion as what has owed us, and that is what has maintained us right until the 21st century. So we know who is Africa true leaders, and we know who are the great kings and queens of Africa, and these are the ones we are now calling on, because many of the true rulers of Africa are in exile, just as what happened in 1974 when the dregs came against His Imperial Majesty and slaughtered millions of Ethiopians, and they had to go in exile in flee of their lives, and the dregs created the new order on the G8 summit. A lot of people don't know that Britain, Russia, China was all involved in the conspiracy against His Imperial Majesty. And we see in 2018, when the Ethiopians returned to Ethiopia, the true rulers, that is what's creating the problem currently, because the true rulers of Ethiopia have returned from out of exile, just as how the rest of our continent, from the Dahomey Kingdom to the Ashanti, the true rulers are going to come back together again. And it is happening without apology. We must know of the spirituality. We keep on speaking of African spirituality. I've had so much experiences of my elders showing me how we can call down earthquake, lightning, and thunder. Even when Bob Marley performed the One Love concert, if you look at it, Bob called upon earthquake, lightning, and there was lightning and thunder when he brought Siaga and Mani together. So when we speak of spirituality, we don't need no weapons of mass destruction, my sister. The laws of Mahat, our spirituality can conquer anything. Earthquake, lightning, and thunder. Yes, it will. Right now, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. Right across the platonic plates, from China, Asia, right across the Middle East, you're going to have an earthquake. What do you think is going to happen to Israel and Mecca? They're all going to go down in sinking sand. There's going to be an earthquake right across into Turkey, right across in the Mediterranean. And let us see what weapons of destruction of men can stop it. These things are going to happen. It's not an illusion. That is why Bob says, you must not be in fear, my sister. Oh. Don't be afraid of nuclear weapon and their weapon, because what we have, they cannot stop it. And that's a fact. I know that. I don't believe, I know.
True talk, brother Ras Shing. Rise up yourself, my brother. So you foresee an earthquake, going right the way down from Turkey. Hallelujah, Dawn, and everybody. Well, all them in the space that got sinking at it. So, family, make sure you're on the right side of the continent when that happens. Okay, so much has already been said by the panel members, and if you want to, hear from Franklin Jones, who we were having the conversation with on my radio show earlier today. The good news is that he will be back with us on my radio show next Wednesday, 10 a.m. through to 1 p.m. GMT time. And that's on the Big G Galaxy Alfiwi, the only de-brainwashing station. Now, I tell you, it is so worthwhile hearing this brother, because you know what our Prophet was talking about there as well in terms of the propaganda. You know, he goes into that deep as well. Okay, looks as though we've lost Brother Rasso Shing for a while. Hopefully he will manage to get back live. These are some of the challenges that we have when our people are joining us on panels from Africa and the Caribbean. You know, we have these network challenges, but please work with us. It looks as though he's back again, back screen. So we will add him back again. Wonderful. Okay, you know, I could go off in so many different directions here, you know, when we talk about the way that they want to look down on us as a people, as if that we're inferior. It makes me want to just remind the family of our greatness and the great heights from which we have fallen, and our achievements and our accomplishments of the past, and how these parasites have actually latched on to a lot of our glorious history and tried to superimpose themselves on it. You know, I could go off in that direction, but hey, we've got a topic for discussion today. So we're going to go into that topic right now, and we'll have a bit of a conversation around it. And family, you're welcome to join us in the conversation in the chat as well by, you know, texting in your points of view. I've been asked, do we invite the public to join the debate? You're welcome to join the debate in the chat. We don't normally put the link out, not something that we've well, we have done it once before actually, but it's not something that we do every strong. But yeah, put your points of view in the chat. If you really want to come on to join us in a bit of conversation, we might give it a try, okay, and see how that goes. Well, family, today we're going to have a bit of a conversation. There's a couple of topics that we've got. The first topic that we want to talk about is the gold that was actually found, the mountain of gold, I should say, that was found in South Kivu, that village in the Congo. And I'm sure many of you, like myself, actually saw the video of you know, hundreds of local people on that mountain, you know, digging the gold, putting it in bags. You know, a couple of them were down there digging and some were shoveling it up. And I made an observation as I was watching that video. And I noticed a few things. One of the things I noticed was that the locals were not fighting each other to try and get to the gold. They were all working together in harmony. And I thought to myself, is this Ubuntu, what we hear so much about as the diaspora in the West? Is this the Ubuntu that we used to hear about that existed in Africa, that, you know, we're struggling to find again back in the West? Our African brothers and sisters were working together as a collective. There was hundreds of them on that mountain. Some were digging, some were bagging, some were taking off the bags, but they were all working together to get some of that gold. And even though they must have known that it would have been just a matter of time before the authorities would move in, you know, and clear the site, they nevertheless decided that they were going to work together smoothly and as a collective, you know, in getting some of that gold. Let me tell you this, family, especially my brothers and sisters on the continent who don't know, you know, the Brits, the Europeans as we do, because we live among them. You see, if they did find that mountain of gold in England, yeah, you would have hear how much people dead upon the mountain. Man would have gone get him gun, car him have got shoot up next man, and people would be there wanting to clear it for themselves. There would be World War III. Let's remove Prophet until he can come back. I mean, there would be literally World War III being fought on that mountain amongst the Europeans. And so then the government would have to send in the police. The police would clear the place, and then they would start fighting each other after the gold. And then, you know, they would have to call in the soldiers. They would get rid of all of the police and everybody else, and then the soldiers would be bagging the gold for themselves. I'm telling you, it would have been a very, very different story. Anyway, as we know, they did discover that mountain of gold. And the question that we're going to be asking in the for a bit of a discussion tonight is what we think that they should and should not do with the gold. Okay, so let's first of all go over to our brother Dr. Aboo. Rise up, Dr. Aboo. Over to you, my brother. The floor is yours.
Well, Woodham family, you know,
Woodham.
Africa produce a lot of things. You know, we hear about the oil, we hear about the mineral, we hear about the carbon, we hear about all of these things. But until the people them get their mind together, it's gonna be another OK Corral. You understand? Because they got to realize that although them have it in bags, them have to take it somewhere to get it refined to a certain level. And that is where the problem is. You know? That is where the Jew man and the other rest of man them come in. You know, because we are not organized. We are not organized our aim to even deal with a situation like this. You know, you shouldn't have the people doing that. You should have, that is where the military, because this is an asset of the country. This is where the military come around and secure everything. You understand, you know? This is where you look on, that's not nation building. You understand, you know? And this is what we have to realize, that the people mind, you know, it's the same thing, you know? When they discover bauxite in Jamaica, did the Jamaican people get anything from it? The only thing they receive from it now is cancer and tumor and all of these things. So we have to just know that, you know, I hope they can use it to bring some health and wealth to their people, and don't use it to want to travel to Europe to go and shop in Paris and all of these things, because this is where sometimes some of them do. As soon as we African, whether we have something in the Caribbean or Africa, we think said to spend it, it's more successful spend it in Europe than spend it amongst ourselves. And that's a serious thing. So I hope the government can come together and put it into, that's the people in a proper hospital and proper school for the children them and proper living for the people. That's what it is.
Rise up, Dr. Aboo. Yes, Prophet, we seem to be having problems getting Prophet back on the stream. I'm unable to see him. Are you able to see Prophet on the screen, Dr. Aboo? Is the problem my end?
I can see everybody.
I can't see you.
Oh, we can't see you.
But we can't see you.
Come off camera.
I can see
He just turned off his camera.
No, my camera on. My camera on.
Turn it off and turn it again.
Yeah, I can see you backstage, yeah? And backstage, I can see you. I see you there, but I can't see you on screen right now. Oh, see you come back again now. Yeah, you hide from us. Welcome, Black. Rise up, Dr. Aboo. Thank you so much. So, yeah, so you're saying, you know, this is the military should have come in and, you know, protected the area as an asset for the country. People shouldn't have been allowed to go and probably sell it to the Arabs and other nationals, because this is what happens basically with most of Africa's minerals. It just goes straight out. Absolutely agree. We need to get organized. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Aboo. Over to Prophet Kwaku, the mountain of gold. What do you think should have happened there and not happened?
You know, Congo is one of the countries or one of the areas in the continent that is unexcavated in all forms, because there's a lot of civil war in that region. And there's a lot of civil war in that region for many reasons. And so you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of proxy war. I'm not surprised that they found a mountain of gold there. I'm in agreement partially with Dr. Aboo, but because those places are unstable, you have to be very careful about the military going in and taking control of things in an unstable country. We need stability in Africa and in the various countries where they are. But definitely we're hoping that they can use what they have found for the benefit of the people. But more importantly, we can't keep digging out the minerals out of Mama Earth. The earth is a living entity, and we live within it. And if we keep taking out the oil, the diamonds, the aluminium, the copper, the iron ore, the platinum, the plutonium, the uranium, the cobalt, the coltan, the silver, and the gold, Mama Earth equilibrium is going to start to tilt. And so we have to realize that the planet and us have the same physiology: nitrogen, carbon, oxygen, and all those things that brings a balance on the planet. And if we keep taking out these resources, we're going to find that we're going to end up in a whole load of problems. There's enough gold on the planet already. We don't need to be digging out no more than we actually need. You take what you need, not what you want. And all too often, what's happening is because those countries have had a lack of investment and those things there over the decades, no infrastructure. You know, people get sick, and you know, there's no good herb place for the herbalists them to practice their herbs and look after their people. You know, there's people want to have a future, want to have aspirations for the children them and everything like that. And you know, whenever these natural resources are found, it's never used for the benefit of the people. So I'm sitting and I'm watching, and I'm hoping that somehow through the libations that we throw and through the ancestors, that they won't go and tear down the entire mountain, because that mountain is there for a reason. And I'll leave it at that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Prophet, for that. Yeah, food for thought there in terms of, I mean, I absolutely agree. Every mineral, or what we call minerals, is part of the planet's kind of ecosystem to keep the equilibrium. And if we go, taking it all out, what's going to happen to the planet? I know, Brother Rasso Shing, you've often talked about what's happening because of the oil, the extent to which the oil is being taken out of the ground. Let's go over to Brother Rasso Shing, first of all, to comment on the mountain of gold and what your thoughts are about what, Congo ought to be doing and not doing as a result of that gold find, and any comments that you may have on what Prophet Meduty and Dr. Aboo have already said.
Well, I am totally in agreement with Prophet. Let us not be the gold rush of how the European greed destroyed the planet. This planet here is a living organism. Every mineral in it is for a purpose. That is why you're currently having global warming, as how scientists is now putting it. And that is why you're going to have an earthquake, because right now the platonic plates no longer are able to rotate. They are grinding. And what will naturally happen, once it's grinding, you're going to have an earthquake, right? The whole of the volcanic ocean of the so-called ball of fire, that is now being exposed. The earth is not being heated by the sun. The earth is now being heated by the heat from below, the magma. And that is why you're going to have a earthquake. The whole of the volcanic ocean of the so-called ball of fire, that is now being exposed. The earth is not being heated by the sun. The earth is now being heated by the magma. And that is why you're going to have a earthquake. The earth is now being heated but below the earth. That is what's creating all the ice melting in the Antarctica. So I'll be telling our people, African people, why do you think we didn't put so much into these things? Because Mother Earth gurgitates all the material she doesn't need. She naturally sends it out. But what Mother needs is she possesses it, and we're not supposed to dig it out. So what I'll be telling our people, leave the gold mountain alone. We have all the natural resources. We have the hemp plant that can create any material you can imagine. We have the SUN, we have all the solar energy. We have so much thing that Mother Nature has provided naturally for we. And this is the future of the 21st century. Who can harness natural energy? So let us stop destroying Mother Earth. So I wouldn't be selling no gold or digging up nothing. Leave it alone, because you do not know the value of it to Mother Earth. Your little greediness is destroying Mother Earth. And that's the laws of Mahat. So those who keep on speaking of Mahat, the laws of Mahat are universal. You can't change them. It will destroy you if you try to go against it. And that is what humanity has been doing. So there has to be a reaction. There has to be a reaction. And we know it's going to happen. There is going to be an earthquake right across the platanic plates. The Great Wall of China is going to come tumbling down. As for the Mecca and Israel, the weeping walling, they'll all be tumbling ashes to ashes. And that's a fact. Watch and see. I can't tell you the time or the hour, but right now in Jamaica, my sister, every day they're telling you how much tremors we have been having in Jamaica. That means the earth is vibrating, the earth is tremoring. So there's going to be a final explosion. Of course there has to be. Mother Nature must correct the corruption of man and the evil that has come from the beast and the dragon. And that's a fact. That is where our spirituality, people don't understand when we speak of the spirituality of the great Africans. Ask Bob Marley and Tommy Cowan. Well, you're in Africa. When Bob went to Zimbabwe, it was raining all over the stadium. You know what they did? The elders went and called some Shama, and the Shama prayed, and guess what happened? There was no rain in the stadium, but there was rain outside the stadium. Tommy Cowan and all those that was with Bob had vouched that they see some spirituality in Africa that they themselves find amazing. And that's what I know, my brothers and sisters, our spirituality.
And you see that's the
Don't tinker and dicker with it.
Right.
That's
Rise up, Brother Rasoshi. So you're saying the gold should be left where it is. Yeah, that's really interesting. Let's go with that for a moment, because you know, why not just put a building over the whole size of the mountain, which is the equivalent of a bank, yeah? Because what a lot of the European countries tend to do is take all the gold out of Africa, smelt it into these iron, bars, these golden bars, don't they? And they keep it in their vaults, and then they supposedly, you know, make, then they decide on the value and the wealth of their country based on the amount of gold and other treasures that they've got in their vaults, right? Well, I'm sure that mountain of gold far surpasses the amount of gold that any European bank has in its vaults. So why not, as you say, go with what you're saying, leave it where it is, you know, put a structure around it, and then actually base the value of the country in terms of the strength of its currency and its economic position in the world based on the gold that, you know, is the equivalent of a mountain, you know. And as, you know, Brother Prophet was saying, when you add that to the coltan and the uranium and the, you know, aluminium and the tin and the platinum and the silver and all the other goods, minerals that we've got in the soil, you can begin to see that the value of African countries is grossly, grossly underestimated. Because, how can they, how can any, it just doesn't make sense to me. Someone help me out here. Yeah. If we're actually valuing the economy based on the amount of gold and silver and platinum and wealth and minerals that you've actually got or you possess, how can European countries then have a higher economic value than African countries, when all of the wealth, as we know, is in Africa? And herein lies the problem that we have in terms of, giving the authority to the Europeans, for example, to be able to determine the rules of the game, to be able to determine what your country is worth and what their country is worth. Of course, if you're in a position, to say that your country is of greater value than my country, you're going to do that. And you'll come up with some highfalutin kind of calculation to make that plausible. Well, the reality is, when we look at wealth, and our brother Meduty listed off for us, and maybe he'll do it again, a number of minerals that exist, in Mother Earth, and the majority of which is concentrated in Africa from that list that he made. Surely that should make Africa the wealthiest country in the world. Okay, so when our economists are working for us, our brother was talking about this brother named Kwesi who is advising the government, why are they, they take the best of from our community and they have them working within their institutions and organizations to maintain and sustain their institutions and organizations. But we need the brains such as the ones, such as the likes maybe of Kwesi, but to be looking at how we can revalue Africa from an African-centered perspective, because it's certainly time, I think, that African countries and nations were revalued based on the wealth, the natural wealth that they have. Just some of my thoughts. I want to hear your views and opinions on those thoughts. And also I want to hear from you in the group as well. I post up some of your comments. I can see, lots of rumors flying around, but I'm not going to comment on that until, I get any confirmation of what's been suggested in the chat. And I'm looking on the internet at the same time and not seeing anything yet. So, but in terms of, what I've just said, Dr. Aboo, is it time that we use a new economic kind of way of calculating the value and the wealth of Africa compared to the rest of the world? Thoughts on that, please, my brother, Dr. Aboo.
Good Empress. We are dealing with some people that is going through a hell of a crisis. You understand, a serious situation. No matter how we ever pretty it up and pretend, we are people that have been conquered. You understand? And we see over the years how they have put their things into play. Today we have Africans speaking on behalf of the oppressor. And most of those Africans that speaking, they were fostered in this country to white people and all of these things. You understand? So it's a lot of things, right? We're talking about the situation in the Congo. You understand? But we have to realize the mind of the people. You understand? If your mind is not with you and your ways, then whatsoever you have will be taken away. It's not how the one want to call us inferior. It's how we think. It's how we think. I never yet think inferior. Yeah, never yet think inferior, blood. You understand? The whole thing about it, my sis, is because we ain't following the narrative. You understand? These people declare war on us, yeah? They declare war on us. And at the same time, them having us singing We don't we burden down by the riverside and we don't study war no more. The bunch of idiot set of people them blood. You understand? And this is where we are today. This is where we are today, Aya. Because if we're in a situation where we're not even acknowledging where we are in, you understand? That's why we have these ministers over here and in Africa doing what they're doing. You understand? Because we're not thinking and realize that nature will take its course, blood. Nature will take its course, one way or the other. You know, see it, and that's how I see it, you know. But we are in a situation where, although some of us talking about liberation, we joined the have club and we forgot the have not. You understand? You know, and this is the whole thing. We have to know that there's a lot of have not out there because of what the people go through. And all the time that we move to get something, the have not get left out and just the have. And this is why I run the thing, this have club. You understand? So we have to get out of that and realize that in our community is the have and the have not. It's the rich and the poor. It's the illiterate and the literate. It's the weak and the strong. And that's how we move as a people. Because we all passing through blood and we not take nothing of it with us. That's how I see it. And if we don't look out for one another, that's the only thing that we can do in this life here. You understand? Because what I'm saying, Sister Shanice, many that was with us at this time last year is not here with us no more. So we must stop fooling ourselves and just deal with the real thing I am. The real thing. That's how I see it. Anna.
Honor, Dr. Aboo. Rise up, rise up. Let's go over to Prophet Meduty. What say you, Prophet? Looks as though Prophet's screen may have frozen.
Yeah.
Ah.
You know, every week we come on and, you know, we speak about different subjects. But I think that Dr. Aboo hit the nail on the head today. It's the minds of our people. If the mind is not correct, then it's pure insurrection you're going to be finding in any way you find us. The real war is for the minds of our people, because once the mind is in equilibrium with the soul, then our physical actions become pure. You understand me? And so there will be no need for people tearing down mountains. Excuse me. Why are they tearing down a mountain of gold? It's because there's no infrastructure in the country for the people them to live a standard of life that warrants a human on this planet. And so they're only doing that because they probably want to get a flat screen TV, latest mobile phone, want new clothes, or they want basic things like a house and a nice home to live in. You know, and every African on the continent and even globally should have access to a decent standard of living. You understand what I'm saying? Because when all is said and done, what Dr. Aboo said earlier, we're not taking none of these physical things with us. All we're taking with us is what we have contributed on this planet, in whatever form we contributed it. So you can make billions and things like that. If you have that sitting down in the bank and you're not sharing out to the people them that need the most, when you dead and gone and meet your judgment at the scale of Manhattan, you have to face that judgment by yourself, because none of that thing the way you have is gonna go with you. And so it definitely is the minds of our people. We definitely have to change the narrative of the way that we think. We have to really Africate ourselves and try to Africate our children. And I think it's more difficult for those of us who live in the West, because our children is exposed to that image of Eurocentrism and terrorism every day, on the streets and, on their phones and the iPad and computer and billboards and the television and everything else. Everything is seen through the eyes of a European, and even the people that our children are dear to, the so-called celebrities, even that the way that they postulate themselves is Eurocentric, in the way that they dress, in the way that they carry themselves, in the way that they define what is successful, so to speak. So it's the inner being of ourselves that we have to get correct. And once we get that correct, I am strongly of the notion that everything else will come together. Secondly, we really have to start talking about an African military force to protect the resources of Africa for African people. Because if they don't, they will create these proxy wars. They'll come down there. While these proxy wars are going on, you will see planes flying out. Because remember, most African countries don't have an air force of any such. You oversum it. So the only airplanes that come in is airplanes that are bringing people in the country as tourists, or those big airplane that's exporting the resources of Mama Africa. And they do that every single day. Aeroplanes is leaving the continent with rich mineral sources, and it's not going back to the people. Hotep.
Hotep, Hotep, rise up, my brother. That is so, so true. And as Dr. Aboo was saying as well, we need to change the mindset. It's all about, what we're thinking up there. I noticed a few people in chat were saying that, the Congolese should use the gold to make coins and to improve their currency. And, there's a number of ways that can actually be done. But even just based on what Prophet was saying, the wealth of the Congo is leaving the Congo, and too little of it is actually being spent on improving the quality of life of the people themselves. So, there's the need, for example, for infrastructure, for infrastructural development. There's the need for schools and hospitals and for infrastructure like electricity, internet, power supplies, power stations, roads, bridges, everything. And, the money and the wealth is there to actually do that. But as, people in the chat are quite rightly saying as well, it's in the wrong hands. It's not in the hands of the people. There's the army in the country, and Dr. Aboo, I was hearing you on your show saying that, whilst we're in peace times, what African countries ought to be doing is using their army to actually build the infrastructure within these countries. I wonder if you could say a little bit more and share your thoughts and opinions around what you think, the African armies could be doing during peacetime, rather than just, having a seat in their barracks, please.
Well, army is not just infantry alone. You have signal, you have engineer, you have other regiment. You understand, So, or you think the British could even be in Africa with them BBC World Service because of their military signals? Or you think them cross certain things? Is their engineer make bridges and all of these things and set up certain things? What I'm saying that when it comes to the Africa and the Caribbean, the army only did have to kill its own bloody people here. You never see them kill anybody come in, because it's not something to defend the people, it's to defend them creditors, the European. You understand? And Africa, we as African people must say there's a sickness blood, because we think that success mean plugging in at the white man backside. That's a serious thing. We have this in our mind that success mean taking a plane and come to Europe. Success mean going to Harvard and all of these things there. And these are I'm not saying that it's not good to have these things. But when we're gonna use those things as a whipping stick on our people, then I'm telling that is what we are going through. That is what the people them is going through, because most of the people with these certification use them to whip them people in some nasty way, blood. You understand? So as I said, the goal is not the first thing coming out of Africa, and it won't be the last. But if we don't get our mind together, if we don't get our mind together, they will turn us against one another, mother against daughter, father against son. This is their plan, blood. And we have to really learn from previous experience.
Voodoo. You know, Dr. Aboo, I just want to pick up on what you're saying about what success ought to look like, yeah? Success is standing up for what you believe in. Success is leaving a legacy behind. Success, you know, is being the man or the woman that you were predestined to be, you know, and I say that because I've been seeing, you know, what's been going around in the chat, and I just want to share my screen because it has, you know, been made official notice now as well. I'm not sure if it is the right screen, but it's in. I've got a BBC News article here that's saying that President Magufuli of Tanzania has actually died. This was reported 10 minutes ago. It says, Tanzania's President John Magufuli dies aged 61. The country's vice president has announced. He died today from heart complications at a hospital in Dar es Salaam. And, you know, it was apparently reported in other media as well. This was being talked about in the chat, but I didn't want to mention it until, you know, I could actually see it in print. And, you know, this is the wicked world that we're living in. This is just a reminder of the world that we are living in. You know, we knew that, you know, because President Magufuli, you know, like our great heroes and sheroes that went before him, you know, if you stand up for what you believe in, if you stand up, you know, in the face of tyranny and say, actually, I'm going in a different direction, you know, they already have their forces in your camp. They have their agents in your camp. They have their people who look like us who are working for them, and they have their people in many positions. You know, they're there as doctors, they're there as nurses, they're there, you know, as UN workers, as aid workers, as school teachers, it's undercover agents right across Africa. I see them on a daily basis, sitting in the bars, sitting in the restaurants all day long, drinking the same cup of coffee, eavesdropping, finding out what's going on in the community, who's coming in and out of the country. Africa is not even a safe place for those Africans who live there. And now, you know, the president who we feared, would be the target of the hitmen. It seems that they have, you know, sadly, you know, managed to breach whatever forces of protection that he had around him. You know, Prophet Kwaku, breaking news. It's not the news that we wanted to hear, you know. Our beloved John Magufuli follows in the footsteps of so many of our heroes, our great heroes and sheroes, who stood up for African people. What say you, my brother, to this news? Prophet, you may have frozen. Let me go over to Rasso Shing. Rasso Shing, what say you, my brother?
Well, my sister.
Oh, right, Prophet is back. Prophet.
Let Russell Singh speak. I'll come on.
Yes, well, that news that you've just said, obviously we were hoping that under his leadership, we saw a certain light that he was pursuing, And obviously it's not good when we have one of our own that is now bringing the liberation of our people to be removed in such a manner. And obviously everything that we're seeing, there's conspiracy that is behind everything. So we know it wasn't a natural death. There must be something else. But as we said, my sister, we're in a time where we have to put our own action in place and maintain our own realities and maintain it. That is what we're doing. That is what we are. I am seeing happening right in Jamaica here. Right, I am seeing a change within our people. I'm seeing that there is a different mental attitude. I'm seeing that the university are now realizing that they've failed humanity because they've only maintained the status quo of European education and only brought our people to that kind of system. So even the university is now under attack. And as we know, Professor Beckles, there's some powers to be who wants to remove him because of his position regarding reparation. So we're calling on the African family, wherever we have a champion our cause, let us put our support. Let the respective government knows that the international family is fully aware of what they're conspiring to do. And that's the only thing we can do. Collective security, my sister, as what His Majesty said. And that is the only thing. Collective. We have to have a collective security, because until when we change the leadership of Africa, we have no security, as you know, because all of them only interest is the interest of those enslave us and continue to maintain the system and to undermine our own development. So that's what it is.
Thank you so much, Brother Rasso Shing. Let me go over to Prophet Meduty.
Mandubafu Owo Babawa.
Sure.
President John Pombe Magufuli.
Ashe.
My screen didn't freeze, my sister. 3 weeks ago, we was on this show here speaking about Magufuli. And I warned him because I didn't know it was coming. I could feel it. He was too good for his people. And this is what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, about building up our intelligence and our military. Because these people, them, is the most sophisticated killing species on the planet. Them is so wicked that when evil see them, evil run. Anyone that doesn't move on their agenda is a target. And I can show you that members of this panel are targets, but they regard us as low-level targets. The day that we can amass 100,000 of our people anywhere, they will come after us exactly how they've been after our beloved president. I want to send a message to the Tanzania people. I want you to overstand the inner, around, circumference, radius, hectagon, parallelogram star. That is your future the enemy is seeking to destroy. Stop looking to the west for your redeemer and start to look inside yourselves, because I can guarantee you it is a traitor that rising in. You know who you are. But I'm going to appeal to your inner car to come out and let us know who did it. Because every time we have somebody who stands up in the face of these people, proud, strong African man or woman, their new mode of destruction is heart attack, respiratory problems. Always the same scenario. They did that with Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And they would do it again. I just hope that our brother, in the 5 years that he was president, started to train young people in his philosophy. Because just like they destroyed Marcus Messiah Garvey, they couldn't destroy his philosophy. Just like they murdered Omowale Malcolm X, they couldn't destroy his philosophy. Just like they sought to destroy and discredit Mama Winnie Mandela, they couldn't destroy her philosophy. And so we must continue the works of Baba Magafuli. And I appeal to all the African leaders who hold the office of leadership to look at that president and see what he attempted to do for the benefit of his people. And I'm going to tell you something from now. It's not just the Europeans behind this. Yeah? All those that want to control a piece of Africa is behind it. So African leaders, beware. Because your enemy is eating at your table. All hail our beloved President Magufuli. Mudubafu Baba Babawa President John Pombe Magufuli. We salute you for the work that you have done. We're asking the ancestors then to greet you. And that where you are now, them can't touch you, you can help us to light a fire underneath them. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Very upset, sis. I feel it coming.
Likewise, my brother. We saw it coming. We know the strategies of these people. We've lived amongst them our entire life. They educated us. We know their thinking. And so hence why, you know, you put forward the warning about 3 Strongs ago. You know, he was too powerful in their face. He was going against what they consider to be what they need in order to save the bottom of their economy, which is falling out. The British economy, the American economy has already bottomed out, and they're leeching onto Africa now through the vaccines program and through these new bilateral agreements to save their rear end. And President Magufuli stood in the way of them being able to vaccinate all of Africa. They've already calculated.
Interestingly enough, sis, sorry to cut you, my queen, but interestingly enough, he won that election, and they tried to say that it was a rigged election.
They would.
And they started to spread that propaganda. I think it's almost like they were trying to create a civil war in the country. But this is what they do. And that didn't work. You know, the opposition, you know, even though the opposition said if it was rigged, but the opposition accepted it, you know, because, you know, Tanzania is quite stable. Well, it was quite stable. So when they can't win the propaganda war, they go to the next level. And as you quite eloquently said, sis, they have their spies everywhere. They could be the janitor. They could be the person that's bringing you your water, the cook, you know, the man who's just on the road. You know, they're everywhere. They've got a very sophisticated killing system, and they do it proficiently.
Very much so.
Very proficiently. And I said it before, we underestimate them at our peril. And this is one of our peril. And I'm, you know, I feel it for his family. And my condolences go out to President Magafuli's family, his wife, his children, and them thing there, you know, and the old Tanzanian people them that believed in him and support him. You know, I'm not sure if we're going to see another president in the African world like President Magufuli for a while. A lot of them are puppets of the West. And I really touched me, you know.
And a lot of them are so out of fear. Yeah, we're all touched by that, you know. Magufuli, and they know this. We saw him as a hero, and there were too many of us, you know, who were regarding him as a brave, outspoken hero. And of course, they couldn't have anyone like that in that position. And their history is littered with the number of presidents, cabinet ministers, you know, and pro-Africans that they have taken out, or that they have, you know, got trumped up charges against and imprisoned, you know. And it was just a couple of strongs ago that I was looking at the situation, for example, in Zimbabwe and other African countries, the suspicious number of deaths amongst high-profile cabinet ministers or former cabinet ministers. And, you know, I was saying then that all African countries need to tighten their security because there are too many high-profile ministers who are dying supposedly of COVID. And these deaths are occurring in African countries where there is hardly any COVID when you compare the numbers to European countries and America, for example, but yet there are no deaths of ministers in the UK, no deaths of ministers in America either. Yet, you know, in Zimbabwe, for example, let me pull this up here, you know, they've had a number of ministers who have died. Their Minister of Transport and Infrastructure, Joel Matiza, supposedly died of COVID. Their minister, the foreign minister, Sibusiso Moyo, supposedly died of COVID. You've got the Minister of the State for Provincial Affairs, Ellen Guarad Zimba, supposedly died from the virus. You know, and the list goes on. There was the Minister of Lands, Agriculture and Rural Resettlement, Perance Shiri, who supposedly succumbed to the virus. This is just in Zimbabwe alone. You had this Zimbabwe's former education minister, Aeneas Shingwederi, you know, former Minister of Education, supposedly succumbed to the virus. You know, this is too unusual, you know, too unusual. And then you had Morton Malelanga, Zimbabwe's deputy finance, who also supposedly succumbed to this virus that we know, you know, was actually created in a laboratory and bears the resemblance of basically the flu, because it is to a large extent a flu virus. Corona's nothing new. It's been around for decades. But suddenly, you know, it's made out to be this plague, and this isn't the first time that this has happened. A little while ago, the swine flu was the one that was supposed to have been the plague that we all needed to be vaccinated against as well. And then if you go to South Africa, you know, their minister and presidential advisor, Jackson Tshitembu, supposedly died from the virus. And then, you know, you had the Minister of Public Services. You know, these are all ministers. This is the Minister of Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland. Yeah, Minister of Public Service, Christian Ntasangasi, and I've pronounced the name wrong, my apologies, died from supposedly the COVID virus. And then another senior official of the same small nation, Eswatini, also supposedly died from the virus. And now, unsurprisingly, because of the fear that has instilled in the people, because, you know, they believe the propaganda and the hype, has resulted in them actually calling in, of all countries, Israel, to manage their vaccination program. So it's all linked. And if you know about the economic hitmen and how they work, because they've written it, then we will know exactly what and what has actually happened. You know, very, very sad, very, very sad news indeed. The whole nation is in mourning, also mourning the loss of this great leader. Say you, my brother. Dr. Aboo?
Yeah, man. Well, as I said, you know, we just give thanks, you know, and rise up the family, you know, of the late great president. You understand? You know, he was an anti-colonial virus president. You understand? You know, and this is what happened when you go against those things. You know, like Thomas Sankara. You know, we can name, you understand? We can name so many others, you know. But you said what they have done, they have what we are calling COVID-19, it's just lynching in a different form. You know, it's just lynching in a different form. And this is what I'm saying, that when you have great people like those, you know, we can't have idiot around us. You understand? You know, because some people they will just play along and they have sleepers amongst us. You know, because no care what the Europeans do, they can't do certain things unless them have Tanzania and Gambia and Nigeria, and you understand, him supporting them. And what I get to realize among some of those people, even I see it amongst the Nigerians, they have no love for poor people. Some of them. Some of these Africans with money, they don't have no love at all for their own people. They treat them like garbage. You understand? And this is the whole colonial virus, Aya. Believe me. This is the whole colonial virus. You understand? When you have an opposition leader in Tanzania that side with the West against his own brother for political reasoning and them kind of thing, it's a sickness blood. You understand? And this is what I'm saying, you know, because what we don't realize, you know, as I said, is the mind, you know. Here a man come to his people, you understand? And you have a set of them that reject him. Then the enemy now wants set in blood, you know, see? And this is what we have to realize, because we are facing the same thing as a people here. We have it even amongst our family. If we not be careful, some of them we all put poison in our food. You understand? So we have to know what colonialism is, a terrible thing amongst African people. But they say, so we don't see it as a virus. We don't see it as a virus, we see it as a courier. And that's how we get trapped in ISIS. You understand?
For real, Dr. Aboo. For real. Let me go over to Raso Shing. Raso Shing, you've heard the devastating news. You know, it was to be expected. You know, again, it just exposes the weakness of, you know, the security around our African presidents. But nevertheless, you know, he was fearless. You know, his legacy will live on forever, and he will be remembered for the great man that he was, and he still is in all our minds. Yes, magnificent fully. What is that one that our brother Kwaku coined a few strongs ago? Magafunificent. Magafunificent. He will be remembered, you know, by us all for his courageousness, you know, for being an outspoken president who, you know, was for his people, was down with his people. And I certainly hope that his people continue, you know, with the spirit that he had instilled in them before his departure.
Well, my sister, as you know, as you said, all the comments I've heard, it has been quite a step back for myself hearing that news, because we were looking forward, being the only state that says you didn't need to have any vaccination to come to his country and everything else. So obviously we were expecting that to now start to inspire the rest of Africa. So the only thing that we can do, my sister, is to make sure it's no longer on the people of Tanzania, right? It is also incumbent on us. We have to now stand firm. We have to, as what Bob Marley say, we cannot just watch our leaders being assassinated and just talk about it. It's either you're going to live the reality of it, and know that from the day that we were enslaved, we have been at war, and we have to understand that, you know, we didn't die to go to hell. They brought us to hell. And the experience, it's not a virus. You know, the European, what they've done to our people, you know, there's no comparison. That what you're talking about is hell. That was hell. We lived in hell. We didn't die to go to hell. Our people did not. And that is the experience that we're the traumatized and psychological. And we know for such, only Mother Nature can correct that. Our spirituality, that's the only medium. As what Bob said, they've taken everything, but they can't take away the fire. They can't take away our true spirit that is incarnated within our blood. It's in our DNA. So, you know, we mustn't just talk. Let us make sure that our action from the West towards all the countries that we are now empowering, just as what you're doing in the Gambies, Sister Shanice, you're presently there and we're linking. So let us continue. This is not something that is going to be stopped. By 1930, 2030, Africa must be free, my sister. And some people will say Rasoshing is crazy, but when I look at all the evil that is now confronted, if we do not accomplish that in that period, then we do not have no future generation. And because we know it must be corrected, we know it's happening. We cannot stop. We cannot stop, and we will not.
Yes, my brother. And I'm just posting the sentiments here of our audience in the chat. I want to thank you for your comments in the chat. This is obviously a really, really sad time for the whole of Africa, as someone has said. For
yes, it is.
Africans everywhere. Come here, my brother.
It's nothing that I didn't expect. I just was hoping that his security around him was a lot safer, you know. And we have to watch for the next people they put in as leader, because oftentimes the person that comes in next is the person that assists, you know.
Yes.
It's not going to stop us from doing the works that we're doing. It's only going to fuel us even more because they prove us right. And they're going to call us conspiracy theorists. And what evidence do we have? Well, I always say, now, history is best qualified to reward your research. As so eloquently put by one of our late elders that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, this the spirit in me is moving, you know, moving. If this is not evidence of all the things that we've been saying for the weeks, and you know, if this is not evidence, then I don't know how else to convince our people to start looking within. You know, Magafuli was a good man. He probably wasn't perfect, but he tried his best to do for his people, and he tried to lead by example. Like when he went and clean up the streets with his staff, like when he stopped ministers from squandering money from the coffers for private flights abroad and having their private things, and confiscated anybody who had private homes abroad with government money and all those things. So he was bound to upset somebody. You know, I just, you know,
Yes.
Tanzania doesn't look that welcoming at the moment. You know, so
It's
we
a
have to
very
beware.
sad day.
We have to beware who's gonna go in his place and see what they like.
And as you say, our history has informed us, you know, of what's going to happen next. The West have probably already strategically positioned their person, you know, to take over. And as I said in the chat, we'll soon be hearing that Tanzania will be following the World Health Organization's advice and guidance regarding the vaccination of their people, etc. And, you know, if that happens, then, you know, that would be such a huge slap in the face for President Magufuli and all that he stood for. You know, I'm sure, you know, what he, you know, would hope is that his people realize that he was prepared to die for what he believed in. And what he believed in was for the best for his people. And he knew that those vaccines, you know, from the tests that he did, I mean, he made a mockery of those pharmaceuticals from the day that he carried out his own scientific tests on those test kits. Remember the COVID test kits that he ran using the sheep and the goat and the pawpaw, you know, that is just such a historic, you know, event that happened. It made a complete mockery of the COVID-19 test kits. It exposed to the world the hypocrisy and also the trickery, you know, that they were trying to impose on Africa. And here they were coming with test kits that were already contaminated with COVID. And, you know, this is what they wanted to impose on the Africans. Well, he exposed all of that. And also, you know, he dared to stand up in favor of African traditional medicine. Remember, we're a people who have been around for millions of years on this planet, possibly billions of years. And we didn't survive, you know, by having vaccines. We survived by relying on the herbs and what nature had provided for us to sustain us. and we were certainly healthier as a people, and we lived longer disease-free, when we relied on our herbs and before we were, exposed to the Europeans. And we know from our history that the Europeans, from the day they come among us, they brought all of their diseases and their sicknesses with them. And we know that there have been entire nations that have been wiped out from coming into contact with the Europeans because they are such a diseased, ridden. It's just the truth. Our history and their history bears this out. The Black Plague, don't know why they call it the Black Plague, actually, the bubonic plague, should call it the White Plague. Their history bears it out, all of their sicknesses and diseases. And now that the world is a smaller place and we have them among us on the continent, they're bringing all of these diseases and their sicknesses with them. But we still have the power of our herbs that can heal us. These are herbs that we have relied on for thousands of years. Herbs that have sustained us for thousands of years. And magafuli dared to put, the herbs that our great Imhotep, for example, would have been using during his time 5,000 years ago, ahead of, some experimental jab that and concoction that they've come up with that you can't even call a vaccine because it's not medicinal, and he's paid the price. But everything that he stood for and everything that he instilled in us during that time when he had that platform to be able to do so still lives on I hope in all of his people, and certainly in me and many like me. Let me go back to Dr. Aboo. Let's go round. That we are 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. It's so sad, that this news has broken during this broadcast. But at least, we have the opportunity to rise him up in power and to rise up his spirit and for us to proclaim that his spirit will live on in each and every one of us, that his spirit will live in the hearts and the mind of his people, and that 100,000 magafulis will rise up across Tanzania to stand up for what he stood for, and that they will begin now to see the enemy for who they really are and to lock down their borders accordingly. Hey, I think Idi Amin is stirring right now and advising what needs to be done across the continent of Africa. Hey, this is a new day, family. We cannot allow, our leaders to be continuously taken out, while, as they say, we stand aside and look and do nothing. We need to see the enemies for who they really are and recognize, that for them, because of their history of murder, killing and taking someone out, it's just nothing to them. I mean, we had a case in the UK quite recently where a police officer picked up a young woman from off the street, took her back to his place and dismembered her body, cut her up in pieces, him and his wife, and then went and tried to bury her and conceal her body. There are missing people in the UK right now. Parents who are wondering what's happened to loved ones. We are living amongst some sick people. Dr. Aboo, let me bring you in. Let's go around another time before we end this broadcast.
Yeah, man. Once again, our condolence goes out to the people of Tanzania.
Definitely.
All the time. As the prophet said, it's no surprise. And it's never that never a surprise because you have to sick for dead. You understand? You have to sick for dead. You can be assassinated in a crash and all. My woman sick for years and she's not dead yet. And many people dead after. So we have to just know it's a journey that we have to go. We all passing through. And his contribution to the world, I can say that he leave I and I with a light heart. You understand? And it's the greatest thing that a one can do. It leave you in an uplifting vibration. You understand? And we have to know that It's a sacrifice he even make for his people, but his people doesn't know. Some of his people will never even remember him, but they remember Jesus down at Calvary. And that is what colonialism do to a lot of us. That is what colonialism do to a lot of us. And until we can acknowledge that we are suffering from this virus, we will lose a lot more leaders, like our dear president of Tanzania, Voodoo.
Voodoo. Brother Rasso Shing, let's bring you in before we close, my brother.
Well, my sister, everything that I've heard Dr. Aboo said, our spirit and everything goes to our people. This is not a time when we slow down. This is a time when we go forward and continue on our journey, because it is a must. It must happen. And the action that has happened already is already having effects. We have seen the effects of it. So we're very confident of our victory, Sister Shanice. Irrespective of what the world of men is planning, we are very confident of our victory, because we're not here sitting down praying. We are taking the physical action in everything that we're doing. You know, it's all about physical action. That is what defines whatever spirit is in us. Only the action, right, that resounds in whatever spirit is in us, our action will define it. And we know that there is enough of us that know that death before dishonor. We've been living in hell. So, you know, we've lived in hell. You know, we didn't die to go to hell. Our people has lived in hell. That is what it has been. And we know there must be an heaven that we ourselves must create it, because we once had it before they brought us in hell. And it's only we can do that. You know, only we can do it. It may seem impossible to some, but I know that it's not, because our great ancestors has done it so many times throughout the history of our civilization. And we're just in the time within time when the balance must be balanced again. And that's what it is. That's all I can say, my sister. Yeah, it's a shame that we didn't have it because of this, because obviously it has put us off a bit, because we was not in full expectation. We suspected it would happen, but actually hearing it is something else. You know, we wanted to speak about the Chinese, because what's happening in the Gambia of burning down the Chinese businesses, as you know, the Chinese completely polluted their land, and they want to come in our land and do the same thing. It's time for us to burn them out if necessary. Whatever means necessary, that's where it comes to, because we've been at war from the day they took our people in enslavement. So without apology, I'm one that is ready. And we know that we're targeted. Yes, we know. But why should I be in fear? That is what they've been doing to our people, putting us in fear all these years on the plantation and all the evil that they've done to it. Well, we've had enough of evil, and it's time to get rid of it. And the only way we can do it is standing firm against it. Wherever it rises, it is us to get rid of evil, my sister. That's what it is. We will no longer sit on the fence. We will no longer watch while these things are happening to our people. Those days are done. Over. That's where we're at. And if it's necessary, we will war. Of course we will. Whether we need to use stones or whatever it is, we will war, because it's now come to that, my sister. And that is where it's at. If necessary, we will fight. Yes, we will.
Yes, we will, my brother. We've been fighting for the last 5,000 years, and we've come a long, long way. And many great ones have lost their lives along the way. But still we rise, and still we will continue to fight until we are again the rightful rulers of this planet. Otherwise, the whole planet will die. If we don't take up our rightful position, the entire planet you know, will bear the consequences of our failure to take up our rightful position. Today, you know, we can see the environment is suffering as a result of it being in the wrong hands. We can see the soil is suffering, it's being polluted on a daily basis with all the chemicals and etc. We can see the marine life is suffering, the animal kingdom is suffering, we as a people are suffering, and we're living, you know, so below our potential. And it's time that we rose up again as a people to become the rulers of this planet, to take care of planet Earth and the people. Prophet Meduty, let me allow you to give us some departing words, and at the same time help us to remember Magufuli, how you think he would want us to remember him, and, you know, give us some thoughts about how you think his legacy can live on in each and every one of us, please, my brother.
We give thanks and praise to the creating force of the universe, and we ask the ancestors to embrace our elder, Magufuli. We ask the Tanzanian people to mourn him properly, you know, give him a good send off, and build a statue in his favor, you know, a big statue in his favor, that any incoming president will see him watching them. This just presents to me how weak we are as a people, as a force. We're not a force at all. We are reactive. We react to things. So it's a very distressing moment. I'm very taken aback by it, very moved by it. And I just want to say OTEP to the family. Yeah. Condolences to his family, man, 100%. Me know them people, me know that the man they did too good. And the dirty boy them get him. Yeah. We're gone over time, so I'll ease out now.
Family, I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. As I said, you know, it's a major blow to all of us, you know, and to have had this news during this time of this broadcast as well, you know, because anyone who is a regular on our channel will know that President Magufuli is one who we have always held in very high esteem. In fact, you know, I'd organized a trip to Tanzania for 2020, November 2020, but that had to be cancelled because of COVID. I had hoped to visit Tanzania in the very near future as well. And, you know, President Magufuli was a magnet that was drawing many of us to a land which we thought was going to be the land of the free, the land where you didn't need a vaccine to enter, a land where, you know, as Africans, we empowered, you know, to do for self and to, you know, have our own narrative about what we wanted to do with our economy, with our medical departments, you know. And President Magufuli, he's going to live on in each and every one of us, you know, and may his spirit rise up as well in each of us so that we can go on to accomplish that which he had set out to do. And may there not be a U-turn in Tanzania. May they continue forthwith with their policies, their economic policies, you know, their stringent policies to ensure that the benefits that went to the people and the majority of the people and not the few. May the greedy ones, the dirty boy, then where Prophet Meduty so, you know, eloquently called them, you know, not be allowed to get their foot into that country and take it over to exploit it in the way that they have been exploiting so many other African countries. But we will continue to stand up and stand firm. And, you know, may everybody in the chat be strengthened, you know, in the knowledge that we knew Magufuli to some extent, and that he lived during our lifetime, that, you know, we were here as history was in the making, Many of us who are into history, you know, there are many great ones who have gone the way that Magufuli did. But, you know, they weren't there during our lifetime or at a time where we had an understanding of what was going on. But, you know, we can all talk about Magufuli. And, you know, family, for as long as we talk about Magufuli and for as long as we continue to rise up his name, he lives on. The only time Magufuli dies is when we forget him. The only time Magufuli dies is when we stop speaking about him. The only time that Magufuli dies is when we begin to forget what he stood for. So let's remember what he stood for. Let's remember him for the great man that he was. And may we be empowered in the knowledge that he has left behind, you know, in us, that great desire to want to do for Africa. On that note, family, I want to rise you all up and thank you so, so much for keeping it locked again this Wednesday evening, and all being well, family. Please be black on time, 8 p.m. GMT time for the Sister Shanice show. We will have our resident DJs in the house. We'll have our brother Jammers. We'll also have our brother Delani, and we will be talking some more. We might even decide to have another discussion specifically on President Magufuli. So, you know, keep it locked to the channel just in case in short notice we decide to pull out another show, family, because, you know, we want to look in as the news comes out of Tanzania and we learn more about what's going on. We want to have our say from our African-centered perspective on the situation. So I want to thank my panel. I want to thank each and every one of you in the audience as well for keeping it locked. Stay tuned. Please subscribe. Please hit the red bell so that you can be notified when we come on air. More love, more power, and as Dr. Aboo would say, more voodoo, each and every one of you.
All the time.
One love,
Perfect
family.
love, brothers and sisters. Perfect love.
Perfect love.